All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar, which is Metadata is Betta Data. Cleverly came up with the title that myself. So we're going to be doing, it won't be a very long webinar today. I've left plenty of time for questions at the end. So to introduce myself, my name is Connor with the Technology Instruction and Engagement team here in IT, and I'm just one of the technology instructors. Now, a few little housekeeping things as we get set up for this before we dive into the topics. I know we're already muted, but just to point out, in the bottom corner, you have your mute button there. Same thing for the webcams. We want to make sure that we just stay muted unless we are going to be asking a question out loud, just in case any background noise is there. We don't want that getting picked up in the webinar. It's also helpful if you just expand the meeting window if you haven't already, so just up on that top right corner, just to maximize it, get your full view. And then helpful to have both our participant panel and our chat panels open during the webinar. That way you can send a chat message in at any time. We have that being monitored. As part of the participant panel window, you'll get these non-verbal feedback icons. So at certain times I might say, everyone understand, are you okay with this? And you could say yes or no, and then I'll see that on my end. Or if I'm going too fast or too slow, you can let me know that way as well. So it's a way to just kind of give me some feedback without actually saying anything or typing a chat. So let's go ahead and just test that at the minute. If we're all good, ready to go, everything's working fine, go ahead and give me a green yes. Thanks, Morgan. I see that in there. And Mohammed, I don't see the yes yet. Is everything all right on your end?
I don't know where to find this.
Okay. If you just, so on the, let me go back to this slide here. When you have your controls, if you click on the the participants, which will be this little box right here on your end, you'll see a list of all of us, and there you go. Lovely. So it's helpful just to keep that open, just in case things are, as we go on, and you want to just give me a little cue, like yes or no, or maybe if you have a question and you want to interrupt, you can do the raise hand. So whatever you like. All right. So today we're going to be going over a few things here. So first of all, we'll be looking at what is metadata. If you've never heard the term before, I'll give you the generic description or definition of the word, and then we'll actually take a look at what does it mean for us when we use myCommunity. So we'll go through a few slides. We're actually going to spend a good bit of time in myCommunity itself on some of our team sites there, and just showing you some examples of how those work in our document library app and the custom list app. They're the two biggest ones that are really useful with metadata. And then we'll walk through the steps on how to create those columns and set up our data and our apps ready for us to start working in this way. And at the very end, I'll show you where you can get some support if we need it, and then we'll have plenty of time just for questions and answers at the very end. So anything we need to go back and see or what we need to explore. Okay. So a brief definition of metadata, a set of data that describes and gives information about other data. But what that actually means for us in myCommunity is, let's say we're using our team site to store a lot of information. So it could be a list of vendors, a list of team documents, anything we're kind of storing. What the metadata lets us actually do is manage that list, manage all that information. So it's one place, so we are able to organize it. We can filter and sort based on tags or categories that we give our data. And so it's more like it is data itself along with the table, but it lets us work or manipulate that data. So that's what we mean when we say metadata in myCommunity. Like I've mentioned, it's best used with these two apps, Document Library and Custom List. And what we'll do is I'm just going to show you those few examples first of how we've used it in our team, and then just some other examples I've seen around campus that I've recreated. just to give that better idea of how it looks. And then we'll start exploring it backwards, how to set it up that way. So I'm going to switch over here to myCommunity itself. Now, if you're not as familiar yet with myCommunity, basically this is Microsoft SharePoint, and we have branded it as myCommunity for the university. So when you're in SharePoint, it's a collection of all these different tools, but one of the features it offers is these team sites. So these are our websites where we can control access, who can get in, and so they're really good for our... Oh, nice. Thanks, Edward. I see Jerry has just joined us. So our team sites, our own little private intranet of sorts, you can think of it that way. So I've got a few over here from our following list. I'm going to start off, we'll just go into our actual team site for our team here in IT. So IT, Technology, Instruction, and Engagement. Actually, I need to get rid of that one. That's the confusing one. Here's the right one. So this is our little private site here. We have all our navigation along the left. So the few examples I'm going to show you are our team documents and our training KPIs. So first, let's just take a look at the team documents. So when I come to this area of our site, we have it's just really similar to maybe your network drive you're using here on campus, or your OneDrive if you're making use of that. So we have all our folders. It's a place to collect all of our resources. But as you can see, it's quite a long list, even though there's all these folders. And as we click in, more and more things. So it can be a lot to manage right away. So some things that can help is I'll show you over in our KPIs what we've done. And it works really similar to between both of these. So here it's another example without the documents. So this is just a list. So we just have columns where we can enter information, and we can set up our columns whatever way we need. So whatever you're going to be tracking in a list, you can set it up that way. So again, the same problem. It's a long list, just too cumbersome, too much to manage. So we have metadata to help. And by that, let's see if we want to, based on location, only see classes for a certain building. Well, we can click on it and say filter by. And then this gives us a few choices where if I only want to see my classes that are going to be in best 160, when I check the box and click apply, what it starts to do is just filter through that list. And now instead of looking at 500 things, I get to see exactly what I'm interested in for this location. And there's a lot more we can filter from. So instead of going through each column and clicking on the title, I'm going to clear the filters here. What we can also do is in our top right corner, we have this little cone or filter icon. So when we click on that, it also gives us all of the columns in the one place, and we can go through and select our certain information. So we want to see the Budig PC Lab for open workshops, everything that was in the last 30 days. And as I'm selecting all of these tags or making use of this metadata, it's automatically updating for me. And then I can just close that filter panel, and now I'm working with a much smaller list, but the exact criteria that I want to see. So we use this list just to track all of our training classes, workshops, anything we do as far as engagement and training goes. We just keep it as the title of the class, when it happened, and then the number of students, faculty, or staff in attendance, so that we just use that to make sure we're doing enough outreach. So that just makes it easier to manage. We can actually take it one step further, which we'll also see today, is once we've gone through our filter, selected our criteria, I don't want to have to do that every single time I want to see this information. I don't want to have to come in and click and go through each thing. Once we've set it up the first way, we can actually save it. It's called a custom view. So next time, when I open up my list, we have this view called all items. So that's just looking at everything, but I can click on the name of it, and then any views that I have, I can save them here and then give them names. So this one I've called Connor. So this is a view for me to just see all of my own training engagements, so I don't see anyone else's. So while all the information's still there in the list, I'm only working with my information that I need to update. So that's the way I've set mine up. You can always set it up more where we can still go into the filter, and then maybe I only want to see it for a certain month based on that column of information. So I'd be able to go through and change that. So it's still ways to interact with it as much as we need. Okay, I'm going to go to another site here just to show you a couple of other examples, and then we'll switch gears and I'll show you how we can start creating these things. So this is just a different website. I have it just for testing purposes. So I have here a list of team documents. I'm just waiting for that to load now. It's just taking its time this morning. So the way we've set up our document app or our document library here on the site is we click on it and it's just no folders. We just have one big bank of documents. Now it looks a bit of a nightmare, but I'm not worried because that's what our metadata is for. So we have these additional columns to categorize our documents, to issue or name a document owner so we know who's going to be updating that, and we can filter based on that. And then also we just have one for notes, so we don't necessarily have to always use our metadata to filter and sort by. We can also use it just to give additional information when we filter and sort off of another column. So then we just have additional notes that we need. And I'll go one last example. We have our team courses. So this is one I've seen on campus before as well. They just have a list of all of the courses offered in their college or the department. And then based on what semester it's going to be offered, they have a list for the instructor. Is it going to be online, yes or no? Where is it located? So just some basic columns. They filled in all the information, and then that allows them to go through and filter. So if they need to see what courses Mary is going to teach this spring and upcoming fall, we can see exactly that information in a matter of seconds instead of having to scroll through and find it. Okay, let's do a temp check. Were these examples helpful? Do we have a better idea of what we're able to use it for? You can give me a yes or a no. And that's good. When the yes goes away, that's good. Great. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears and I'll show you, we're going to start from scratch. We're going to create a whole new list app and recreate this a little bit with our courses. We're not going to go as in depth and make the hundreds of entries, but just to give you the idea of how to get started. And we'll create those additional columns and what ways we can do it. So I always start back at the home page. It just always feels like a good place for me when I'm going to start adding new content to a team site. So if you haven't done this before, these apps, we can add multiple or as many as we need. So it all just depends on how you'd like to organize your information. So we already have one for documents and a list. I'm just going to add a second list. So in order to do that, when we're signed in, we come up to this little gear icon in the top right. And when we click on it, we'll have the option to add an app. This will show you the full list of every app that the team site offers you. But our most used ones are at the very top. So we have our document library and our custom list. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the list by clicking on the icon. And we're going to call this one, actually, let's make a list for our vendors that our team interacts with. We're going to track all of that in their contact information. So vendors, we'll click create. Now, the one thing that SharePoint does when you add an app, it doesn't take you right into it. It takes you to the list of all the contents for your site. So that we'll just have to find it in the list that we created here and then click the name of it. And then we'll be in the actual app itself. And so this is it. There's nothing in here yet, just a field or a column for title, and that's it. And it leaves it blank because you really create this whatever you're going to need. So we have our add column button that's pointing out for us very handily here. And this is where we're going to start deciding. So it might be helpful to plan it out ahead of time. What columns of information are we going to want to track so that we know what to call them? And then how are we going to want to enter that information? Are we going to want to type it in each time? Is it going to be a drop-down menu that we set up so we can just choose from the categories later to make it easier for everyone? Is it going to be a notes field where we're going to have to type more than just a word or two? So these are some things to sort of think through before we start creating it. But once we're ready, we can go ahead and we'll click Add Column. We're just going to do this for each one that we need. And it gives you the choice of what type of column it is. So this is where I was mentioning, how are you going to enter the information? So single line of text would be good for a couple of words. Multiple lines of text, that's great for a column like notes where you can enter in all the details to go along with it. Or a choice field, that would be setting up a drop-down menu so that you can define categories. And then if there's other people working in your list, you know you're going to have consistency. So we're going to do vendors. First off, we'll use the title field for the name of the vendor. Next up, I want to know what type of vendor they are. So we're going to use a choice field and make them categories. So when we select it from the list, it just brings up our settings over on the right. So this will be, we'll just call it category. And then for our choice field, we just have the option here where we start setting up what our choices are. So this will be a vendor, we'll just call one, general supplies, equipment, software, and trying to think of a good word, shipping. Oh, just a few to get it started. So there are a couple of other settings here. I'm just going to go ahead for today. We've got our name of our column, what our choices are for this one, and I'm just going to click Save. So that automatically adds our column there. Then we can just add an additional one. So for this one, I might select a date, and this could be our date of contract when we entered into a contract with that vendor. Go ahead and click Save. And then I'm just going to do a single line of text. And this one, I will put, well, actually, it'd be better for an address. Let's do multiple lines just to make sure we have enough room. So address. And then I'm going to choose a number column. And this will be their phone number. So that's the general idea. Now this works the same. This is our custom list app that we were creating. This works exactly the same in that document library app. You would just add a column, select what it is, give it a title, and then you're ready to start adding information to it. The one difference is with our list, we have to enter everything manually. When you use a document library app, you have to upload that document first, and it won't fill in the rest of your additional columns you've set up. So you'll have to go back and do that second step of then entering the metadata for the documents. So upload, then enter the data. The list, we just enter it all right away at the same time. Okay, once we've got our columns and everything set up the way we need, as simple as this to start adding in information. At the top next to new, we have this quick edit button. I prefer this. You can click new, and that just has you go through one vendor at a time in this case and enter their details. But that can be a little time consuming depending on how much you have to add. So you can also go to quick edit, and it makes it almost like a mini Excel spreadsheet where we can just start typing in the details and use our tab key to go across. So this we'll call, this is P1 software. And then I can use my tab key just to go across the additional cells. So with our category, that choice field, we can go through and select it's the software vendor. We entered in the contract with them on the 10th of this month. Their address is 123 Street. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. And as I just keep using my tab key, it'll go across and enter in the additional stuff. Let's do, I'm just thinking of companies and things I've heard recently on the radio. We'll call this an equipment company. Equip us with employees. And as you see, as we start entering information in the last row, it will automatically add that additional row in case we need it. But if we don't fill anything in when we're done here, it won't be a blank row left. Just there in case we need it. Okay, I'll just get a couple things in here for now. I would have to go back and revisit that. I just realized with our number, it's probably not the best way to set up a phone number column. So there'd be another way to do that. But when we're done editing information, I will click Exit Quick Edit. And now we're left with our column. And at this point, we can start filtering based on it, on whatever this information is in each one of these. So then I can come up to my filter panel, and I know we only have 2 here, but like let's just say we wanted to see what category. So we only want to take a look at our software vendors. We can just check the box. There it goes, like we've seen in our examples. Once we have set up a view that we like and we want to save it, our next step would be to click on where it says all items. Now I do want to point this out to you. I'm going to move my mouse around just a little bit. There's a little asterisk next to all items that wasn't there before. So anytime you're looking at a view, when you change something, that asterisk will appear to let you know that something has changed from the default. So when I click on this, I'll have the option to say Save View As. So I've gone through, set up my criteria, I selected my tags from the metadata. I'm going to save View As, and I will say this is software vendors. And then when I click Save, now it says software vendors up here. I can click on this again. I can go back to all items and see the full list, and always just select and easily switch between the two. One quick thing I wanted to mention, when you're entering data in quick edit form, instead of having to type each one like I was doing, if you have this information already in an Excel sheet, what you can actually do is copy and paste all of the data from the Excel sheet into here. The only thing you want to pay attention to is that each of your columns are named identically and they're in the same order. As long as those 2 things are true, then you can select all your data from Excel and copy and paste it in this option here. So that makes it a lot faster if you have that information already. So that's the basics. We started off with a blank table, set up the columns, entered our information, and we were able to start filtering based on it. With the document library, there's actually metadata already being tracked. So when we upload documents, it is the system itself paying attention to some things around it, like what type of document it is. Is it a PDF, an Excel, a Word? So if you're going to be doing this in a document library, it might be helpful to first look and see what information it's gathering already before you start adding your additional columns, just so you're not recreating the wheel. So if we ever want to take a look at all of the columns or edit what order these are in, so we're able to see what's being tracked already, we can do that from the app itself. So I'm in Team Documents. When I come back up to this gear icon, there's an extra option called Library Settings. It might say List Settings. It depends which app you're in. But they're both the same, give you the same thing. So when we click on it, we're looking at the settings just for this document library app. And this is where I can see, if I scroll to the columns area, all of the information that it's already tracking. So then I could just double check that, is it something that's already there? If not, then I can add my custom column for that. So I'll show you again just one more time. If we want to see those list of columns that are already in there, so we might not see all of the columns on this table because the system doesn't show them all. We'll be able to see them when we go into the gear icon, go to library settings or list settings, and then we'll see the full list of all the columns, whether they're on the front end or not. And one additional thing just to show you, we talk about our custom view. So that's when we set up our filter and then saved it to use later, is at any time when we're in a view, like my purchase orders, we can click on that name again up here in the top right, and we can go to edit current view. And that's going to take us into this area where we can see here's additional columns we hadn't seen previously. If the check mark is on, that means the column is there for us to see on that front end of the table. If it's not checked, it's just hidden behind the scenes. But we can change our order as well. And any settings that we change in here only applies to this view for Connor's purchase orders. It doesn't apply to the other views that might be created. So it's just ways to really customize exactly what you're seeing without actually changing the data for everyone else. So we could make our changes here, and at the end, we'll just click OK, and that's how we save it. Okay. That was our quick crash course on metadata in myCommunity. I'm just going to switch back to the slideshow here, just to show you some support information. So if you're using this system and having any technical issues, we have our IT Customer Support Center, so you can contact them at 785-864-8080 or email them with itcsc@ku.edu. If you're starting a new myCommunity site, or you have one and you haven't really done anything with it yet, and you're sort of thinking through planning stages or what you might be able to do with it, you're more than welcome to contact our SharePoint admins. So Yang is someone you could be able to email, and her email address is mycommunity@ku.edu. Or if you need some more training or things like this we did today with our webinar, you can always contact us at the training team, and one of us will be able to come over and help either set something up one-on-one with your department, or we have plenty of actual hands-on workshops you may have already seen, and you can get those on the workshops.ku.edu website. So feel free to sign up for any of those as well if you need some additional training. But with that, I'm going to just turn it over and see if there are any questions over what we talked about today. This would be a good time. So you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask them out loud, or you can type them in the chat if you don't want your voice on the recording. And I'll just wait here for a minute to see if any come in. And in case someone is typing, if you don't have any questions, you're feeling pretty good, we're going to wrap up. I just wanted to say, if you're going to leave, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Even if it was only one thing, that makes me happy. It's one thing we didn't know before. And I hope you have a good day. Otherwise, I'm going to be hanging out here for a few minutes just in case there are any questions.